Hello, my name's Amanda Pratt. I'm the Director of Corporate Communications here at Rumpke. Each and every day, I have the privilege of working with 2,300 Rumpke employees as we work toward a mission. That mission is to provide a complete solid waste solution, one that involves environmentally sound disposal, waste reduction, reuse, and of course, recycling. It's a tradition the Rumpke family started more than 80 years ago.
We started recycling was probably sometime in the mid-30s. It was the time of the Depression and everybody was out of work. Pop had a hauling company. He would deliver coal to people's homes and they would pay him by bartering. They would give him chickens one time, pigs or something different. At one given time he came back with 6 hogs. He had to feed the hogs, so he hired his unemployed nephews to go out to restaurants to bring garbage in to feed to the hogs. This really was the start of recycling also. He would pick up the garbage, bring it into his 60-acre tract, dump the garbage in a dumping area. The hogs would go through them. He'd pick the metal out, the rags out, and the other commodities that he thought he could sell. Pop seen a value in everything that was out there.
It's no longer feasible to sort out the recyclables from the garbage. That's why residents are partnering with us for the environment. We use a variety of recycling containers, from the curbside recycling bins to curbside recycling carts to public drop-offs. We take the materials to our Material Recovery Facility, where we use state-of-the-art technology to recycle and process them and prepare them for raw materials. Let's join our plant manager, Brad Dunn.
It's my job to make sure that the more than 500,000 pounds of materials that come in every day are processed. Behind me, as you can look at the tipping floor, there's a lot going on here. Once the trucks dump the material on the tipping floor, one of our loader operators will place the material inside of the drum feeder. The drum feeder actually regulates the flow of the material to the system. We can adjust the speeds of the conveyor and the drums. The material will then go up an incline conveyor to the first pre-sort station. Pre-sorting the material is very important. At this point, we want to remove any non-recyclable items as well as anything that could possibly damage the system.
Once the material is looked at by our pre-sorters and any trash or non-recyclables are removed, we run it over our cardboard screener. Here the cardboard will ride on the surface of the discs while the remaining materials will fall through to a conveyor below.
And once the material has gone through the cardboard screener, it ends up on the next pre-sort. We're pretty much duplicating what they did on the first pre-sort, with the exception of any small corrugated that fell through the spaces on the cardboard screener will be recovered at this point. We'll simply drop it down this chute and it will get conveyed to the remaining cardboard. Again, the last 2 guys are focusing on anything that may damage the system, any non-recyclables, with a heavy focus on film plastics like plastic bags. The next device we're going to run the material through is called a fine screen. That's a disc screener like the cardboard screener you saw, but the discs are spaced accordingly to remove glass. We're going to remove the glass, we're going to break it, and then we're going to send it to our Dayton processing facility. Other material being removed at this point are going to be items that are 5 inches and smaller, including steel cans, aluminum cans, and single-serve PET bottles. The remaining newspaper and containers will then be fed to our newspaper screener. This is the newspaper screener. There are 2 of these, one on top of the other, and we are going to further separate the newspaper from the remaining container. As you can see, it's at a very steep angle, and the newspaper climbs up the surface of the disc, while all the container stock will fall through the spaces in between. This top deck will remove about 40% of the fiber. The deck below it will remove an additional 40%. And then what comes off the bottom of that, the 20% of paper plus the remaining container stock will be fed to our angle sorter for further separation.
The next device in the system is an angled sorter. Here we're going to separate the container stock from the remaining fiber. The principle here is the 3-dimensional containers will roll off the side angle while the newspapers will be carried over the top. The newspaper will go to our first T-Tech in the system for further purification.
The next device in the system is an overhead magnet. Here we use electromagnets to lift up the steel and bimetal cans and drop them off onto another conveyor.
Here at our Cincinnati Recycling Facility, we utilize 3 T-Tech optical scanners. The first one cleans up the newspaper coming off of the angled sorter. The second one focuses on number one plastics like water bottles and 2-liter soda pop bottles. And the third one in the system focuses on number two plastics like milk jugs and laundry detergent bottles. Here to talk more about the P-Tex is our Director of Recycling, Steve Sargent.
The optical scanning technology has actually been around for several years. Primarily it was used in the agricultural and manufacturing industry. Today it's been brought to the recycling industry. The unit's quite simple, but it's a very advanced technology. The unit scans a vertical beam of light down and reads from a reflection what type of material is traveling underneath the beam or the field. Once it identifies that material, it actually ejects it with a stream of air, and you can hear the air coming off the system today.
After the T-Techs have done their job, we'll look at the material that's remaining just one more time. Here this young lady is going to remove any 1 through 7 bottles and jars that we may have missed. As you can see, it takes quick hands and a great eye for detail to be a successful sorter here at our operation. The last device in the system is called an eddy current. This device uses electromagnetic eddies which repel aluminum. As you can see here, the aluminum cans are actually leaping forward several feet, while the remaining residues are falling straight down. Let's talk a little bit about baling. In order for us to ship a lot of our materials, we actually have to package them so we can put them on a truck. Here, our Bolograph 110MR baler is making bales of mixed paper. These bales coming off of here will weigh about 2,300 pounds. If we're baling cardboard, for example, we're looking at about 2,000 pounds.
Now remember that newspaper that started out at the beginning of the system? Here it traveled 425 feet to get to this big pile. What we're going to do here is load it into a trailer and send it mill direct. A really cool thing is within 24 hours, this newspaper is going to be made into a new recycled product.
Not only do we handle residential and commercial single stream, we also handle cardboard. We have lots of commercial accounts. We will service the customer with either compactors, front loads, or rear loads. Our facility here will do 2,000 to 3,000 tons per month of cardboard, and our busiest season is actually the holidays, as you can imagine. The materials that we collect, process, and bale will eventually end up on a truck like this, where they will be transported to end users so the product can be made into something new.
Rumpke accepts the following items in its residential recycling programs: plastic bottles and jugs, glass jars and bottles of any color, aluminum cans, steel cans, empty aerosol cans with lids and tips removed, paper bags, envelopes with or without windows, junk mail, computer paper and other mixed office paper, magazines, telephone books, and newspapers with inserts, paperboard such as cereal boxes, and corrugated cardboard. But Rumpke is working on ways to recycle more material than just common household items.
Rumpke is committed to being the solid waste solution for the region through collection, landfilling, and recycling. We're constantly looking for new opportunities to increase the technology at our recycling plants to improve the percentage that we recycle in our waste stream. We're also looking at opportunities to increase the volume we collect through larger containers and incentive programs. In addition to building and sustaining successful recycling programs, Rumpke is implementing other green initiatives at our sites. For example, at several of our landfills, we are harnessing the gas produced by decomposing garbage to power homes and businesses. Rumpke also partnered with Clean Fuels Ohio to start fueling our trucks on landfill gas. We invite you to visit rumpkerecycling.com or rumpkecleanandgreen.com, or call us today to schedule a visit to one of our recycling locations.